Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini-episode, today I have a couple of great articles dealing with North American monsters. Once again, we're going to be looking at Bigfoot and the Thunderbird. Let's get into these articles first with Witness recalls her Bigfoot experiences in Salmon River, Idaho region, in which the witness meets a Bigfoot family and they, all greet each other. And then we'll read a story involving the Thunderbird, folks, that appeared to this family during Hurricane Katrina during 2005, folks. Either way, let's read the first article first and read the witness's account. On at least one occasion, a younger one, standing around 5 feet tall, tagged along. She assumed this was their child. She observed these creatures multiple times over the years. The witness, Connie, recalled that when she was a child growing up, she would often stay at her father's ranch in the Salmon River, Idaho region in the 1940s. The father was wealthy and owned the land, but did not live there. Instead, some ranch hands took care of it. Her father would visit it regularly in his personal airplane. During one of these visits, Connie found a spot on the ranch where a spring ran through in some very tall trees. She called it her secret spot. One day, while there at her secret spot, a huge creature came out of the forest and began approaching her. As the creature came closer, I felt it was trying to calm and reassure me that I was not in any danger. The creature acted like a female with a motherly attitude. I felt comfortable with her. Connie recalled it sat next to her on the log, and the two seemed to have some communication. I talked to her, and she responded with low, deep tones and nods of understanding. After about 30 minutes, a second creature emerged. It seemed angry, but the motherly creature put it in its place. He must have been a male. I assumed he was her mate. He stood back and watched her, but never interacted with her. The creatures, she noted, were 7 to 8 feet tall. The male was a bit taller, with flat faces and long, stringy-looking hair all over their bodies. The color was dirty off-white with darker hair on the more exposed areas. Their eyes were dark and squinty. When the male was angry, his eyes turned black and seemed to grow larger. On at least one occasion, a younger one, standing around 5 feet tall, tagged along. She assumed this was their child. She observed these creatures multiple times over the years. Her father eventually sold the property in the 1950s, and she never saw them again. So, a very interesting account, folks. Did this woman actually encounter a family of Bigfoots? And did this, motherly Bigfoot actually basically understand this young girl as she talked with it? It sounds like this entity could actually understand human speech, because I really do get that idea from the interactions that the little girl had with this particular Bigfoot. But then again, maybe this creature wasn't actually able to understand this little girl. Maybe it was only reacting to the little girl and her gestures and behavior, and basically did so in such a way that the little girl thought that this creature understood her. But that's just me, folks. I really do get the idea that this creature was honestly responding to this little girl in the most, for lack of a better term, human way, even though this creature was not human. And you could honestly say that the other Bigfoots that were described in this story also felt like they were intelligent beings. Incredibly, this might actually point to the fact that maybe Bigfoot are actually self-aware beings and not animals at all. But do you believe that, folks? This could basically be, a hoax, I suppose, but from the description in the story this girl gave us. Oh, I know it's a woman who basically told us this story, folks, but from her description of when she basically met these creatures when she was a girl, it really does seem like a sincere story. But do any of us actually believe it, folks? As I said, I believe these things do happen, but you need to have actual physical proof to prove any of this at all. But it's still wonderful to basically contemplate if these creatures do exist and they are as wonderful as this girl basically made them out to be. Either way, let's read this next article titled Anna Mickey or Thunderbird Encountered During Hurricane Katrina in Gullman, Alabama. Very, very interesting, isn't it, folks? Either way, let's continue and hear about how this family dealt with basically seeing this large cryptid that literally was so big it could basically sit on a tree branch and basically the whole tree would, seemingly bend over, I guess. So let's read this brief blurb of what this person encounters before we get to the real story. I'm looking at the biggest friggin' bird I've ever seen. It was perched on a large oak tree burrow, and it bent the entire tree halfway over. We stared in stunned silence at it, as I imagine anyone would if they saw a cryptid like this, folks. Either way, let's hear the entire account now. This happened back in 2005 during Hurricane Katrina in Gulman, Alabama. During the lull of the storm, my Nana called me to come look at something. I step out on the porch and bam, I'm looking at the biggest freaking bird I've ever seen. It was definitely a predator, but the odd thing is it had a tooth on the beak and the back of its head had an upsweeping almost crest or ray. It was perched on a large oak tree burrow and it bent the entire tree halfway over. We stared in stunned silence at it. My Nana never knew what it was. Neither did I until I told my grandfather, who was Ojibwe, and he told me I had seen Anamiki, otherwise known as the Thunder Beings, Thunderbirds. I'm 34 now, and I was in high school then. I think about it a lot on calm days after a hard storm. I know what I saw was flesh and blood. It breathed, and for some reason I was instinctively stuck in place, unable to move, as if it would hunt me from the porch. So as I can say, folks, a truly terrifying account if you actually saw a creature like this. Now, was this actually a real Thunderbird, folks? Maybe it was. Maybe indeed it was a Native American spirit that this family saw. But if it was a spirit, how did it physically, affect this tree it was perched on? And why was it there? Now, remember, the father was apparently a member of the Ojibwe tribe, and therefore, maybe this is why this particular spirit was attracted to them. Either way, we don't know for sure. Now, there's a note with a little more information on this particular cryptid, so let's read that now as well. I've received many cryptid and supernatural accounts related to the events during and after Hurricane Katrina. In Anishinaabe, the language of the Anishinaabe people, Anamaki translates to Thunderbird. The Thunderbird is a powerful and revered being in Anishinaabe culture, often associated with thunder and lightning. It symbolizes strength, spirituality, and a connection to nature. Other First Nations people believe in similar legendary birds, but the Anishinaabe are known as the original people, or true people, in their own language and share common languages, cultures, and beliefs. They are a group of indigenous peoples in North America, primarily found in the Great Lakes region of Canada and the United States. They are a collective term for the three distinct peoples, the Ojibwe, or Ojibwa, Chippewa, Sultarex, Bungi, Ottawa, Ottawa, and Potawatomi, Lawn. Very interesting subject, isn't it, folks? So, we have to ask, was this cryptid there because maybe Hurricane Katrina maybe somehow grounded this bird and just chose that spot to land? But then again, why of all places would they land near someone who did indeed have blood of the Ojibwe people in them? But indeed, folks, what are the chances that this bird would land near a family that did indeed share any Ojibwe blood in them? I mean, I find that a little out there, because there are like 5 million Native American people in North America, and believe me, in no other time in history has there ever been this many Native American people that have lived in North America, folks. But still, that's a little, very little percent of the North American population. So, of all places, this bird, or I guess supernatural spirit entity, chose this place to basically rest. So it makes me think that this bird was drawn to them for some reason. Either because of their blood, or maybe, for some other reason we just do not know. For all we know, folks, as I said earlier, maybe it wanted to reveal itself, but maybe it did so because it was lonely or something. I just don't know, folks. Maybe like the story with the Bigfoot and the little girls, maybe these creatures do reach out occasionally to humans for, their own esoteric reasons that we simply don't know, but maybe one day we possibly will. All I can say, folks, is that this bird, he gave the impression, or at least a boy there who basically witnessed him, thought that if he basically moved, that this bird would hunt him. Maybe this creature really was hunting this boy, perhaps. Maybe Thunderbirds basically prey on humans, perhaps? But if that were true, folks, then we'd probably already know well about them, I would say, because we'd probably basically be on alert for people being attacked by Thunderbirds and being, literally hauled off into the air by them. Because certainly I could say that this creature could basically easily haul away a full-grown man. I mean that, folks. This thing was big enough and strong enough to basically bend a tree. So, yeah, I do believe that. But what about all of you? Do you think both of these accounts are real? As I said, folks, I do believe these things do exist. But, as usual, folks, until we can prove them, we can just only hope that they will be proven. Either way, we're at the end, folks, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics That Are Bad For You. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions or the chat to go subscribe to me. And remember, I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so make sure to come back again then, folks, okay? I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll see you all again tomorrow.